Sacipremi Mataji, Ramananda Prabhu knows more than me about Sacipremi Mataji. So she is such a wonderful devotee, and she is really a Vaishnava. Every Vaishnava quality is with her. So, and we are very fortunate, specifically we in the Nilachal Chakra in the KKD, we are, she is with us. We are really very fortunate. And already I have glorified much about her in previous classes also. And Mataji do not like her to be glorified. So we know everyone, Sacipremi Mataji. So with that, I hand over to Ramanand Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Mataji, actually, she is a wonderful preacher, as we all know. He's also taking children classes very actively, and is training them so nicely. And many Matas is also getting trained, and she's expert Bhagavatam preacher. I heard a couple of sessions from her, and really it's amazing. The request Sacipremi Mataji to bestow the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on all of us on this auspicious day to start the new year with the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Sacipremi Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji and Matajis. So welcome to our Chaitanya Caritamrta class. So thank you Ramanand Prabhuji and Bir Krishna Prabhuji for giving me and Nityananda Simha Prabhu for giving me this opportunity. So I'll start with Mangalacharan. Umagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Maham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamiti Namine Namacharya Padaya Nitya Kripa Pradayani Gaur Kadadamdaya Nagar Grama Tarini Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desa Tarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So I request all the devotees present here, so bless me so that I'll speak the right words following the Guru Parampara. Hare Krishna. So today I'll be starting chapter 16 of Adilila from verse number 60. Last week Sripada Mataji and before to that Bharat Prabhu also started glorification of this particular chapter. So I'll be starting from verse number 60. Okay. So actually prior to that in the last week class, we know the pastime that when Keshav Kashmiri comes, because he travels all over the world, I mean to say that he is a Digvijay Pandit. So he comes to Navadvipa. So when he comes to Navadvipa and when he meets Mahaprabhu, that time Mahaprabhu is called as Nimai Pandit. So on the bank of the Ganges where Mahaprabhu will be sitting along with some of his students and teaching them grammar and Alankara. So Digvijay Pandit, they'll be having a conversation, so that we all know very well. So he speaks 100 verses, okay, in a flow. And what is the greatness? He feels that he says that I have not copied from any Shastra. These all are composed by myself. So that kind of pride he was having. So then he asked Mahaprabhu that which verse you like the most and is there any comment on this? So then Mahaprabhu started giving what are the wrong things which he has not mentioned in a proper way. So he gave 5 doshas and 5 alankaras. 5 alankaras which are not mentioned in a proper way. So last week Mataji spoke about the first alankara, that is the verse which is spoken is in 16th chapter 41st verse, where Digvijay Pandit, that is the Keshava Kashmiri, he spoke the verse. So Mahaprabhu started finding the 5 doshas, that is those are the faults. So the principle actually in the first one is unclean composition. So that was told by Mahaprabhu, that you are not given a clean composition of what you are intended to say. So we'll go with the next verse, that is verse number 60. द्वितीय शब्द विधेया ताहा पदिला समासे Lakshmira samata artha karila vinashe. Because of the word Dvitiya, that is second is unknown, in its combination, in this compound word, the intended meaning of equality with Lakshmi is lost. So when you look at the previous verse, in the 59th verse, so Mahaprabhu says, Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi Ihan Dvitiyatva Vidheya Samase Gauna Haila Sabdarda Gelakshayam. So Mahaprabhu says in the word Dvitiya Lakshmi, the quality of being a second Lakshmi is unknown. In making this compound word, the meaning becomes secondary and the originally intended meaning was lost. So this was the first fault which Mahaprabhu found in Keshava Kashmiri's composition. And coming to the verse number 61, this is the next fault which Mahaprabhu finds. Avitramsa vidheyamsa ye doshera nama ara eka dosha ache suna savadhana. Not only is there the fault avitramsa vidheyamsa, but there is also another fault which shall I point out to you. Kindly hear me with great attention. Why? What I understood is here that why Mahaprabhu is saying that please hear with great attention, because we know Keshava Kashmiri is puffed up with pride that he is the most scholaristic person. So because he defeated many persons. Okay, actually I was hearing to Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, if I'm not wrong, his lecture. So in that lecture he was saying that when Digvijay Pandit came to Navadvipa, so at that time Navadvipa was filled with Pandits. Okay, so what was the conversation, or what was the opinion of the elderly Pandits? So that's what Maharaj was explaining, saying that the elderly Pandits, they were thinking that, so if at all Digvijay Pandit, if he wins in front of Mahaprabhu, so it doesn't matter, we will say that because he is a small child, so he couldn't compete with Digvijay Pandit. On the other hand, they were thinking that if at all Digvijay Pandit gets defeated by Mahaprabhu, that is Nimai Pandit, so we will say that, oh, he got defeated by a small boy. So in that way, they were giving their own opinion. So that's what Maharaj was explaining. So here Mahaprabhu was saying, that's what, kindly hear. So this is the second, so this is also the first one, that is the unclear composition which is given the second verse. That's what he was mentioning. And coming to the next verse, Bhavani Bharta Shabda Dile Paya Santosha Viruddha Mati Krita Nama Ye Mahadosha. Here is another great fault. You have arranged Bhavani Bharta to your great satisfaction, but this betrays the fault of contradiction. So what is that particular fault? Mahaprabhu explains in the next verse. Bhavani Shabda Kahe Madhava Devera Grihni Tandra Bharta Kahile Dvitiya Bharta Jani. The word Bhavani means the wife of Lord Shiva. But when we mention her husband, one might conclude that she has another husband, because he has not clearly mentioned. So that's what Mahaprabhu says. So this is the one of the fault in one of your verse. This comes in the last line of the verse which was quoted by Digvijay Pandit, and which Mahaprabhu picked up out of the 100 verses. Next one. Shiva Patnira Bharta Iha Sunite Viruddha Viruddha Mati Krite Shabda Shastrena He Shuddha. It is contradictory to hear that Lord Shiva's wife has another husband. The use of such words in literature creates the fault called Viruddha Mati Krit. So, because the explanation was not in a proper way, that's what Mahaprabhu was pointing out. Coming to the 65th verse. Brahmana patnira bhartara haste deha dana Shabda sunite haya dvitiya bharta jnanam. So if someone says, place this charity in the hand of the husband or wife of the Brahmana. Okay, when we hear these contradictory words, we immediately understand the Brahmana's wife has another husband. So here Mahaprabhu is giving as an example that if we say that give this charity to the husband of the wife of the Brahmana. So generally people may think that the wife may be having another husband. So in the way you compose, that is Bhavani Bharta is also symbolically same way. That's what Mahaprabhu was explaining. Coming to the 66th verse, Vibhavati kriyaya vakya sanga puna visheshana adbhuta gunaye punar attadushanam. The statement by the word Vibhavati, that is flourishes, is complete. Qualifying it with the adjective adbhuta guna, wonderful qualities, creates the fault of redundancy. Next, Tina pada anuprasha dekhi anupama eka pada nahi dosha bhagna krama. There is extraordinary alliterations in 3 lines of the verse, but in 1 line there is no such alliterations. This is the fault of deviation. So that's what next one. This is the 4th one about the Vibhavati Adbhuta Guna. So that's what Mahaprabhu, this is the 4th fault which Mahaprabhu finds in the composition of Digvijaya Pandit. Coming to the 68th verse, Yadyapi yeyi sloka che pancha alankara yeyi pancha dosha sloka kaila charakhara. Although there are 5 literary ornaments decorating this verse, the entire verse has been spoiled by these 5 most faulty presentations. So Mahaprabhu now found out what are the 5. That is Bhagna Krama. So that's what broken in order. That is the 5th fault which Mahaprabhu finds in Keshava Kashmiri's composition. And after this, actually, Mahaprabhu describes about the 5 alankaras which were found in the composition of Keshava Kashmiri. So, but before that, Mahaprabhu gives an analogy in comparison to this. The 69th verse, Dasa alankare yadi eka shloka haya eka dosha shabda alankara haya kshayam. Okay, if there are 10 literary ornaments in a verse, but even one faulty expression, the entire verse is nullified. So even though there may be so many, but even though there is a single fault, so the whole will be spoiled. So that's what Mahaprabhu is saying. Coming to the 70th verse, so Mahaprabhu gives one more analogy about here. Sundara sharira yaiche bhushana bhushita eka shveta kushte yaiche karaya vijita. One's beautiful body may be decorated with jewel, but one spot of white leprosy makes the entire body abominable. So this is a comparison which Mahaprabhu gives. Even though if you are decorated fully with all the ornaments, but still even a small spot, because leprosy, when any person is affected by leprosy, so you'll find a white spot on his body. Okay, so by that you can identify it. The same thing Mahaprabhu is saying that Nimai Pandit saying that you have composed, but there are some faults which I found out. So this is compared to a leprosy as it is found on the entire body. Okay, so here Prabhupada says that the great sage Bharata Muni, an authority on poetic metaphor, has given his opinion in this connection as follows. So this is a verse which has been quoted in relation to this which was written by Bharata Muni. So, but before that, let us see what does this pastime, actually in this particular pastime, what is the main content. So actually Kunti Maharani says in her prayers in the Kunti Stuti of 1st canto 8th chapter in the 26th verse. I know many of you are well versed with this verse. So it says that Janmaishwarya Shruti Shribhir Yeda Manam Madam Puman Naivartha Abhidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. So in the translation it is said that Kunti Maharani says that your lordship can be easily approached, but only those who are materially exhausted, one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, bodily beauty, cannot approach you because they'll be puffed up by their knowledge. So actually, I was hearing to the lecture of Maharaj, in that Maharaj was saying that we all know that there are two types of educations. One is the spiritual education and the other one is the material education. The spiritual education is called as the Paravidya and the material education is called as the Aparavidya. So people generally, those who are on the board, think that, okay, my material education is more. So in that way, they'll be puffed up. So the same thing, even Keshav Kashmiri also had that kind of pride because he had the mercy of Goddess Saraswati, because he could speak instantly any verse, and he never took any reference of the verse. He used to compose by himself. So that kind of pride he used to have. So actually they say, I was hearing in one lecture of Amarendas Prabhuji. So he was mentioning that every human being has an ornament. So we should try to take care of that ornament in a proper way. So one of the, he was mentioning that a person who is an opulent, who is having Aishwarya Vibhushanam Sujanata, one who is having a lot of money, so he should be with humility. He should talk to others with humility, not that I'm having a lot of money. And the second is that someone who is brave and powerful, okay, Virya, okay, so he should be be regulated in his speech. We should not think that, okay, whatever I want, I can speak. And the third one, it is said that Janai Sopa Sakama Srutasya Vinayam. So the learned person ornament is being humility and humble. So whatever, how much learning you may have, okay, but still you should try to be humble. So that is very important. So that we don't find in Keshav Kashmir, because he's puffed up with pride. And the second, last one, it is said that someone who is strong, okay, his ornament should be forgiveness. Not that he can defeat others. He can defeat, okay, but what kind of attitude he should have? That he should be forgive to others. And even Amarendra Prabhu said that out of all, so what is the one important thing which everyone should have? That is the Vaishnava qualities. So to have Vaishnava qualities is expected ornament for all classes of men. So that's what Amrendas Prabhuji was mentioning. So here even the same thing with Digvijay Pandit also. So he was puffed up with pride that he knows, because he could defeat everyone, and he got, because people used to be afraid whenever Digvijay Pandit goes to any place, because they will be defeated and they don't want to be in that particular way, that I got defeated by such and such person. So that's then that way people were there. Actually, so when we look at the pastimes, so there are so many great devotees who are very well versed in the Shastras and who are high in birth, everything, but still they remain as great devotees of the Lord. For example, we can take about our great Chat Goswamis, that is Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami. We know that they were born in the Brahmanical culture. There were the Saraswata Brahmanas, and along with that, they were in the high class, and where the king used to rule, okay, so they used to have a highest position and they used to earn a good amount of salary every month, but still they maintained their humility. As Mahaprabhu mentioned in Siksashtakam, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroreva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So they always, so for this particular verse, we can remember one pastime. Actually, once a Pandit named Rupa Narayana, okay, so he was also same like Digvijay Pandit, who was traveling to every place and he was defeating others by his puffed up knowledge. So once he came to Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami saying that we will debate. So whoever wins, so you should give a written certificate that the other person, opposite person, has won, I mean, in this particular debate. So Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they said, no. Without starting the debate itself, we will give a written certificate that you are the winner, you are the Digvijay Pandit. So why did they do? Okay, they would have competed because they have the knowledge, they could do that. But it is mentioned that they don't want to waste their time. Okay, and the other thing is that out of humility. So they don't want, and they gave a written certificate to them. But looking at this particular situation, Jiva Goswami got little angry and he debated with this Rupa Narayana, and he won in that particular debate. Then Rupa Narayana surrendered. So that's what we'll see after in this particular pastime also, that how Digvijay Pandit, after he comes to know about what kind of what a wrong thing he has done, so he will also surrender. But before to that, he was very puffed up with his knowledge, because these Chat Goswamis, as it is mentioned in the Chat Goswami Ashtakam written by Srinivas Acharya, it is mentioned that Nana Shastra Vicharinaika Nipunau Sadharma Samsthapakau Lokanam Hitakarinau Tribhuvanim Manya Saranya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Mandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghu Yugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So it is mentioned that Nana Shastra Vicharinaika Nipunau. So they are the expert. Sadharma Samsthapakau. So they are the one who establishes the religion. And what they do, Vande Rupa, so Sri Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana. So they always want to enjoy in the pastimes, of Radha and Krishna, even though they are highly educated people. So we know that when they wanted to meet Mahaprabhu, they went to meet Mahaprabhu in Ramakeli. So what was their position? So they had a straw in between their teeth. So, and they went and offered their prostrated obeisances to Mahaprabhu, saying that because even though they were born in a high class family, because they worked for such a king, so they thought themselves as a very low class, even though they know everything, they have the knowledge of everything. So when we see even Sanatana Goswami meeting with Mahaprabhu in the Adilila, okay, Sanatana Goswami doesn't come in while coming from Vrindavan, he doesn't come in the public road, he comes on the beach road, on that particular path. So we all know that when he comes, because of the change in the weather, his body will be full of pores which will be oozing the poisonous, one kind of stinky thing, material. So then he will be blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's what he didn't enter into the temple also. He used to stand outside in Mahaprabhu after taking darshan of the Lord, because Sanatana Goswami used to stay with Haridas Thakur. So he used to come and meet them, because they considered themselves as low, even though they were high qualified. So this is what is required. So actually in Bhagavatam 1.8.26 in the Kunti Devi Stuti, Prabhupada mentions that a materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality, because quality is very important. So the way we chant the name of the Lord is very important, not the quantity, not how many times I've done, but the quality is very important. And these four categories of people, that is high parentage, good wealth, high education, who has beautiful body or attractive face. So they are the disqualifications for the progress on the path of spiritual advancement, because this knowledge, this material knowledge or the Jada Vidya or whatever they're having, so it is only on till the material platform, not for us to go to the spiritual level. Even though they may be a devotee, but still the way they think is that I'm the topmost person. Because when we see in Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna, in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Lord told that I spoke already this knowledge to Vivaswan, even Arjuna, because Arjuna is a great devotee. It is through him for us to make us understand Lord has done. So he told that we both came at the same time. How can you say that you were present previously also? Then Lord tells him that we were present in the past, we are present now, and will be present in the future. Only thing is that you doesn't know, but I'll be knowing what is our past, present, and future. So as we know that Parasar Muni, who gave the definition of Bhagavan, so it is mentioned one of the 6 opulence is knowledge. So Lord has knowledge, because he is the creator, he has the knowledge. So we cannot compete with the Lord. So we should always think that we are the servant of the Lord. So that's what this particular pastime depicts, that how we should be very humble Even though we have a lot of knowledge, just like Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, even Raghunath Das Goswami is highly financially set, elevate, a person who has a lot of money, so who is a wealthy person, but still he was set as an example for the renounced order of life, because he was instructed by Mahaprabhu that how he has to lead his life. Mahaprabhu gave him the instructions that do not talk to any materialistic person, always chant the name of the Lord. So always hear the glories of the Lord through a pure devotee. So that is very important. So till now we have seen, okay, what are the 5 types of faults which Mahaprabhu found, Nimai Pandit found in the composition of Digvijay Pandit. So next we will see what are the 5 alankaras which was spoken by Mahaprabhu. Okay, so first we'll see the verse which is quoted by Bharata Muni. Okay, so in the 71st verse, Bharata Muni says that Rasankalavat kavyam dosha yukche vibhushitam syadva pushundaram api svite naike na durbhagam. So as one's body, all the well decorated with ornaments, is made unfortunate by even one spot of white leprosy. So the entire poem is made useless by a fault, despite alliterations, smileys, and metaphors. So same thing. Actually, what Mahaprabhu said also, the same thing in the previous verse, that when a beautiful body is decorated, but even a small spot of leprosy, the entire body is abominable. The same thing, whatever you have compiled, okay? So these are the faults which Mahaprabhu has found. Coming to the 72nd verse. Pancha alankarera yebe sunaha vichara dui shabda alankara tina artha alankara. Now here the description of the 5 literary embellishments. There are 2 ornaments of sound and 3 ornaments of meaning. So now Mahaprabhu is going to explain about the 5 alankaras. So in the translation, it is saying that embellishments. Embellishments means, so a person who tries to compose, telling that, giving more details so as to make it even attractive, so that people can get attracted. But who has knowledge, so they will definitely find out the faults. So Mahaprabhu is saying there are 2 ornaments of sound and 3 ornaments of meaning. So that's what we are going to see in the next verse. Shabda alankara tina pade ache anuprasa Sri Lakshmi Shabda Puna Uktavad Abhasa. There is a sound ornament of alliteration in 3 lines, and in combination of the word Sri and Lakshmi, there is the ornament of tinge of redundancy. So that's first fault, that is the ornament of sound. So as Mahaprabhu mentioned, there are 2 ornaments of sound alankaras which are the fault. So in one is that he's saying that the combination of words Sri and Lakshmi, because both are same, Lakshmi and Sri are same. So this is one of the alankara which he found. In the second one, he says Prathama Charana Pancha Takarera Panti Tritiya Charana Haya Panchare Pastiti. In the arrangement of the first line, the letter Ta occurs 5 times, and the arrangement of the third line repeats the letter Ra 5 times. So when we look into the verse, so we can find these particular faults which is mentioned by, while composing, it was a fault done by Digvijaya Pandit. Okay, the next one. Chaturtha charane chari bhakakara prakasha ataeva shabdhalankara anuprasa. In the 4th line, the letter Bha occurs 4 times. This arrangement of alliteration is a pleasing ornamental use of sounds. Next one, previously we have seen that Ta and, I think, Ta and Ra, Mahaprabhu says that it is repeated 5 times. The next verse, Mahaprabhu is saying that the Bha also occurs 4 times. So Mahaprabhu is giving that which word is frequently repeated in this particular verse which was composed. The next one is Shri Shabde Lakshmi Shabde Eka Vastu Ukta Puna Ukta Praya Bhase Nahe Punarukta Although the words Sri and Lakshmi convey the same meaning and are therefore almost redundant, they are nevertheless not redundant. I don't know much in depth the meaning of these particular alankaras or grammar, so I'm just going with that. Next one is Shri Yukta Lakshmi Arthera Vibheda Punar Uktavad Abhasa Shabda Alankara Bhedam. So describing Lakshmi as possessed of Shri, that is opulence, offers a different meaning with a tinge of repetition. So this is the second ornament of word. So here Mahaprabhu is saying, as we mentioned previously, Sri and Lakshmi are same. So Mahaprabhu is saying that it seems that it gives a different meaning with a tinge of repetition. So that way he has described about Shri. The next verse, Lakshmir Eva Artha Alankara Upamana Prakasha Artha Alankara Ache Nama Virodha Abhasa. The use of the word Lakshmi Eva, that is like Lakshmi, manifests the ornaments of meaning called as Upamana. There is also the further ornament of meaning called Virodha Bhasa, or the contradictory meaning. So Mahaprabhu says that Lakshmi means the manifest of ornament of meaning called Upamana or analogy. So there is one more Virodha Bhasa. So this is the second part. So out of the 5 alankaras, Mahaprabhu gave 2 alankaras finding faults out of ornament of sound. So now coming to the ornament of meaning. So Artha Alankara. So that's what Upamana means. Upamana and Virodha Bhasa, they come under this Artha Alankara, which was mentioned by Digvijaya Pandit. Gangate Kamala Janme Sabara Subhoda Kamala Gangara Janma Atyanta Virodha. So everyone knows that lotus flower grows in the water of the Ganges. But to say that the Ganges takes birth from the lotus flowers seems extremely contradictory. Okay, so I'll read the. So here, actually, we all know that. So the lotus flower grows in the water of Ganges, and we know that Ganges emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord. But here, Digvijay Pandit, what I meant to say that the Ganges takes birth from a lotus flower. So generally, it's a contradictory. So that's what Mahaprabhu points out. And the next verse, Mahaprabhu says, Ihan Vishnu Pade Padme Gangara Utpatti Virodha Lankara Iha Mahachamat Kriti. The existence of Mother Ganges begins from the lotus feet of the Lord. Although the statement that water comes from a lotus flower is contradiction, in connection with Lord Vishnu, it is great wonder. So we all know that. So Mother Ganges emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord. So here Mahaprabhu is saying that although the statement that water comes from the lotus flower is contradictory, in connection with the Lord Vishnu, it is a great wonder. So that's what. So actually, it is mentioned that so Lord Vishnu's lotus feet is a great wonder, because many people, they don't understand. So that's what I mentioned, that by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, there is no contradiction, although it appears contradictory, because one who knows the power of the Lord, so for them it is not contradictory, but who doesn't know, for them it will be a contradictory. How did it happen? But everything can happen with the grace of the Lord. So that's what it was mentioned. Coming to the 81st verse, Ishvara achintya shaktye gangara prakasha ihate virodha nahi virodha abhasa. So in this birth of the Ganges by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, there is no contradiction, although it appears contradictory. So there is no contradiction. Only people who doesn't have knowledge, so they feel that it is contradictory, but it is true, because anything can happen by the mercy of the Lord. So in this particular purport, Prabhupada mentions that. So I'll just read, because it is a little important purport, what I felt. So here it's saying that the central point of all the Vaishnava philosophy is to accept the inconceivable potency of Lord Vishnu. Okay, so we should accept, because anything can be done by the Lord. That's what Prabhupada says. So whatever something that appears contradictory from a material point of view, in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he can perform contradictory activities by his inconceivable potencies. Because so when Lord Krishna was very small, so he killed many demonic people. So it is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. But some people may think that how could it happen? But for Lord, it can, anything can happen. So that's what Prabhupada says. The modern scientists are puzzled. So how could this happen? So because they don't have the knowledge. So Shastric knowledge is Shastras. If we read Shastras, they give us the correct knowledge that what are the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. So even Prabhupada explains that they cannot even explain how such large quantity of chemicals are formed in the atmosphere, and they don't even understand what is that water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. But when they asked where such a large quantity of hydrogen comes from, and how they combine to manufacture the great ocean, they cannot answer, because they are atheists who will not accept that everything comes from life. So because they don't have the knowledge, so they cannot answer. Only person who try to read the scriptures and who try to understand, so they can only know that this is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So that's what Prabhupada explains, and this that Prabhupada gives very famous verse. Actually, Prabhupada many times quotes from the Katha Upanishad, the Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam Eko Bhavanam Yo Vidadati Kaman. So he is the one who is maintaining, he is the chief of the eternal, of all the eternals, and chief living entity among all the living entities. So staying in one place, he is maintaining Ekam Sena Sthito Jagat. So Lord staying in there, he is controlling everything, and he is taking care of everyone. So that we'll come to know only by reading scriptures and having faith. So that is very important. We should have faith on the scriptures when we are reading that. Okay. So further, Prabhupada says that unfortunately, atheistic science will not accept that matter comes from life. Okay. Because we know that our soul is eternal. Okay. And soul, we read in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita that it is not destructible, it cannot be burned, everything, because it's an eternal one. So only when matter is created by the soul, because when soul enters into that particular womb, so through that, based upon our karma, okay, so we'll be getting that particular body. And scientists insist upon their most illogical and foolish theory that life comes from matter. No, life doesn't come from matter, life comes from the soul. Soul, because it's an eternal one which cannot be killed, so it passes from one body to the other based upon our karma. So they cannot prove in their laboratories that matter can produce life, yet there are thousands and thousands of examples illustrating that matter comes from life. So that's what we can see, because even Mahaprabhu, further Prabhupada says, therefore in Caitanya Caritamrta, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that as soon as one accepts the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no great philosopher or scientist can put forward any thesis to contradict the Lord's power. Because one of the opulence of the Lord is he has power. So we should try to understand that it is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. And by, by mental calculations or by through the scientific calculations, we cannot understand about the Lord. So that's what it is explained in the next verse. So I'll just read the verse. Ambujam ambuni jatam kvachit apina jatam ambujat ambu mura bidhi tad viparitam padambhojam mahanadi jatam. So here it is said that everyone knows that lotus flower grows in the water, but water never grows from lotus. All such contradictions, however, are wonderfully possible in Krishna. The great river Ganges has grown from his lotus feet. So that's what in the last accomplishment, that is Virodhabhasa, not the last, fourth one. Fourth Alankara Mahaprabhu is once again stressing, actually Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has quoted, from a Sanskrit verse, I don't know from which scripture, but it is mentioned that everyone knows, we know that lotus flower grows in the water. We know that it is the leaf is not touched by the water, in that way it remains. So everything is possible for Krishna. So even the river Ganges also emanated from the lotus feet of the Lord. Gangara Mahatva Sadhya Sadhanatahara Vishnu Padotpatti Anumana Alankara. So the real glory of Mother Ganges is that she has grown from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Such a hypothesis is another ornament called Anumana. So this is the fifth Alankara which Mahaprabhu found in the composition. Is saying that we know Mother Ganges emanated from the lotus feet of Vishnu. So here it is saying that it is a real glory. So why there change in the meaning? So it is called as Anumana. So that's what it is mentioned here. Sthulaye pancha dosha pancha alankara sukshma vichariye yedi acheya param. I have simply discussed the five gross faults and 5 literary embellishments of this verse. But if we consider it in fine detail, we will find unlimited faults. So that's what Mahaprabhu says, that I have just given only 5 faults and 5 literary embellishments, but if I go in a detail, if we consider in detail, there will be so many unlimited faults. In the last verse of this section, I'll be reading, that is Pratibha kavitva tomara devata prashade avichara kavya avasya pade dosha bade. You have achieved this poetic imagination and ingenuity by the grace of your worshipable demigod, but poetry not well reviewed is certainly subject to criticism, because we all know that Digvijay Pandit got the mercy of Goddess Saraswati, that he can speak out. But here Mahaprabhu is saying that your poetry is not well reviewed. It is subject to criticism, because he didn't understand in a proper way. He thought that whatever verses I have spoken may be the right one. But Mahaprabhu took one particular verse and he gave what are the faults in the composition of Digvijaya Pandit. So by this particular pastime, actually till 86, okay, this is the last verse of this particular section. I will conclude with this. Vichare kavitva kaila haya sunirmala salankara haila artha kare jhalamala. Poetic skill used with the due consideration is very pure. With metaphors and analogies, it is dazzling. Okay, so when you try to compare, that's what Mahaprabhu says. When you compare with analogies, so it meaning literally differs. So poetic skill used with due consideration is pure, but because the way he tried to explain about the Mother Ganges. Because he was puffed up, so he asked Nimai Pandit, so what should I explain? Because Mahaprabhu also said that I heard about you from many of the people. Then Mahaprabhu, because he was sitting on the bank of Ganges, so Mahaprabhu told Digvijay Pandit to glorify Ganges, Mother Ganga. So he's saying that you have the poetic skill, but the analogy, when you compare the actual meaning, so it is little dazzling. So that's what Mahaprabhu said. So Mahaprabhu, this is what Mahaprabhu found in Digvijay Pandit's glorification of the Mother Ganges. So what do you understand from this particular pastime? Actually, so who is Keshava Kashmiri? So we all know that there are 4 prominent sampradayas, Vaishnava sampradayas. So one of the prominent sampradaya is Kumara sampradaya. Okay, Kumara sampradaya Acharya is Nimbaraka Acharya. So Nimbaraka Acharya came as Keshava Kashmiri in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. We all know that, because whenever Lord appears in this material world, along with him, his parshads or the great devotees also come into this material. So this is one of the pastime which was exhibited between the Digvijay Pandit and Mahaprabhu. So here we should always be never puffed up with the knowledge. Actually, when we go back to Bhagavatam, so we know that the Govardhan Leela, because Indra was very puffed up that he has power to flourish the fields with lot of rain. So as to teach him a lesson, so Krishna taught them the Karma Mimamsa philosophy over there. Okay, so as to reduce the pride. Then after that, Indra understood what is the wrong thing which he has done. Then he came and he begged pardon to the Lord. The same way here, Digvijay Pandit also will understand that whatever he has done is a wrong thing. So he should not be puffed up with the pride. So that's what we'll come to know through this particular verse, that what is the ornament for all the Vaishnavas is Sarvesham api sarva karanam idam shidam param bhushanam, that to have the Vaishnava qualities, that we are not greater than the Lord. So everything comes, because Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Matta Smriti Jnanam. Everything, knowledge, remembrance, and forgetting, everything we get from the Lord. So we should always, even though we have a lot of knowledge, but we should be present in front of others with humility. So this is what I understood from this particular pastime. So Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis. The remaining verses will be continued by the next speaker. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Ramanand Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So wonderful explanation of discussion between Lord and Keshav Kashmiri. So one should understand that Lord's pointing out the mistakes of Keshav Kashmiri doesn't give us authority to do the same. So Lord is teaching us that we should be more humble. So it is the Lord, and what we can understand, only authority can talk. Authorities can point out our mistakes. So rest we have to not that we ignore, but we don't have to offer any comments. So wonderful messages, Mataji, from last time. And we also had opportunity of Bharat Prabhu, who came and he heard some part of your session and he left. I thought he will be there till the end, but he left the session in between. Maybe Prabhu has got some other things. So, devotees have any questions? Mataji, you completed up to verse 86, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Verse 87 onwards, Bhaktivinoda Prabhu will continue next week. Thank you so much. Devotees have any questions, comments?
If I spoke anything, please correct me. Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis. Maybe, I don't know, I may speak sometimes wrong.
You are speaking straight from Shastras.
No, Prabhuji, not like that.
Udarshan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much. You have given a nice start. Mataji, when you were explaining about the etiquette and all that humility, as Amrendra Prabhu has told, can you just repeat that one? I was noting I didn't miss some point. Can you just repeat them?
Prabhu, I can't speak out that Sanskrit, but I can tell you the English translation.
Yes, just nutshell you can tell.
Actually, Amrendas Prabhu says one who is opulent with wealth should be with humility. Okay. And the second Amrendas Prabhu says that one who is very brave and powerful, he should have a regulated speech.
Okay.
And the third one who is full of knowledge, that is Aishwaryam and he should be, his ornament should be humility and humble.
Okay.
And the fourth one, Amarendas Prabhu says that someone who is strong, his ornament is forgiveness. Okay. In all, Amarendra Prabhu says that the Vaishnava quality is the expected ornament for all classes of men. That we have seen in Goswami and Rupa Goswami, how they were very humble.
Yes, Mataji. Can you share that link?
Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji, will you share the link of that one with the group? That class
Prabhu lecture, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, sure. I actually, while I was hearing about Baladev Vidya Bhushan, so he was speaking that, Prabhu. Sure, I'll share that link in the. You can hear from him, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments, other devotees? Nothing to comment.
No question, comments, but feedback that as every week the speakers are not leaving anything to ask questions. It is like amazing sessions, I can say. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Prabhu and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So if there are any questions, comments, so Mataji, we can just glorify Chaitanya Caritamrta, that we will conclude the session here.
Chaitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Gurudev ki jai. Hare